Roger Hoover now. Please be joined by one of our good friends here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, Alabama legend. Now we can say SEC football legend Barrett Jones will be honored by the Southeastern Conference this year. Former Crimson Tide offensive lineman who joins us now. And Barrett, roll tide. It's really good to see you again, and congratulations on being named an SEC football legend. How's everything going?
Good, Roger. Yeah, I was very honored when Greg Byrne actually gave me a call. I told him, I was like, hey, you might have the wrong number. This is Barrett Jones, not Julio Jones or somebody else. So I was surprised and very honored that they would bestow that upon me. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting and it'll be fun to be there. I was selfishly really hoping that the Tide would be there as well. Maybe they still will be. Who knows? Long season, but maybe not quite the ideal results the last couple of weeks for that hope. But yeah, it'll be a fun weekend and a fun chance to reflect upon my career. And it's weird like the idea of a legend. Even first of all, I'm not saying I'm a legend, but it kind of means you're old. So I'm starting to feel a little bit old. I've got three kids. My wife calls me old sometimes. So I feel like I'm not on the cutting edge of technology anymore. The young kids are running circles around me. So it's just it's a changing of the guard in all things, and as you start to get a little bit older.
Yeah, does that kind of blow your mind just even thinking back to now it's been 15 years since that 2009 season and that national championship?
It does blow my mind. Yeah, definitely. I can't believe it was that long ago. Feels like it was yesterday, the first day I walked onto campus, and now here we are, like you said, 15 years later, post the first national championship that we won, and it was a great experience, and definitely I remember it so well, and I remember all the games, and I see a game or something on an old game come on, and all the memories just come flooding back of all the detailed things that we worked on, and the different plays we ran, and what happened in certain scenarios, and the communication we have. So yeah, it's funny how that kind of stuff sticks with you, especially in some of those big games that we had down the stretch. You really remember a lot of the very specifics about those. So yeah, it is funny how time flies, and the weird thing for Alabama fans is that there's been so many things that have happened since then. It's hard. It's really kind of hard to keep track of all the different players and all the different All Americans and all the different championships because there's been an embarrassment of riches. People have asked me who are not familiar at all with Alabama. They'll ask me like, "Hey, are they gonna, you think they'll retire your jersey at Alabama?" I'm like, "Look, if they retired jerseys, they would have no numbers left. It's because there's so many players that have been unbelievable. And if first of all they're going to retire jerseys, they would have about 50 guys they would do before me, which is great. But yeah, it's just funny how many awesome guys there have been, and I think that's why it is such an honor to be picked to do this because there have been so many unbelievable players, especially over the last 15 years or so, that have come through Alabama, and so to be picked from that batch is a huge honor. And hopefully, I'll try to represent the university well in Atlanta.
Looking back for just a moment to your recruiting process, so what made Alabama stand out in that process and ultimately win out among some other schools?
Yeah, they weren't that good when I was getting recruited. And they had a different coach initially, and Coach Shulo when I was getting recruited. And honestly, took a couple of visits and was not that impressed, and kind of wrote him off my list. That's kind of where I wanted to go. My dad went there, but after my first couple of visits, I said, I don't know. I just don't have a great feeling about it. I'm not sure how good they're going to be, and I just didn't get a great feel. And then as there was obviously a lot of change afoot because they got a new coach, and obviously it was Nick Saban, and I went back for a visit, and things immediately were drastically different. And he came to my house and just kind of painted the vision of what it was going to be like. And it was a 180 really on the direction I felt like of the program, and really just wanted to be part of something special. And I think to me that was one of the big differences is there wasn't he never begged me to come play there or said we really need you. It was more of an invitation to be part of something special, and that appealed to me. It was an invitation to compete against other guys who were competitive and wanted the same thing, and an invitation to work really, really hard and try to achieve something together. And so I don't know, something about the way that he approached it and the process and laying that out for me. And I knew he was going to make me better. I didn't know how. I don't think anyone knew we were going to win 3 and 4 years. That was hard to predict. But I knew he was going to make me better as a player and probably also as a person and a man. And so I think that's why I really picked Alabama ultimately. And then I grew up cheering for Alabama, so that was definitely part of it. It was probably a relatively small part of it, but it was part of it. So it was cool that it kind of all came together and had the opportunity to go. And I think it all happened a lot faster than I anticipated. I remember when I went there, I thought, I bet by my junior or senior year it will be really good because the first year, my senior year of high school, they were, I think, 6-7 or 7-6 or something, Saban's first year. And so, it's kind of mediocre. And I thought it would take some time to turn the roster over, kind of build the culture. And, it happened a lot faster than I anticipated there. And just off for the races with that first year. Getting to the SC championship, losing as I was redshirting, and then getting back. Obviously, the first year I was really playing and winning that national championship, losing 10, and then winning 11 and 12. It was a wild ride as a starter to be able to be a part of something special and around so many great teammates.
And of course, you couldn't predict either. You would play three different positions on the offensive line. I mean, what allowed you to be so versatile?
Yeah, I would honestly say necessity. The key that we really wanted to do when I was there, and I'm sure a lot of offensive lines have this approach, especially in college, is we wanted to find a way to get the best five players on the field at offensive line. So it was less position focused and it was a little more focused on, hey, let's find a way to get these guys in the field. And so, I think I always joke and say I was never that good at any of them, so I was just okay at all of them. So they always found a spot to put me, and mentally I can handle it. I knew the offense really well, and so they knew I was versatile mentally. And I didn't really want to do it, honestly, when they asked me. In fact, it was the middle of spring practice in my redshirt sophomore year when they asked me if I would, or excuse me, I guess it was my redshirt junior year when they asked me if I would move the left tackle, and I was like, no, I don't really want it. And they're like, well, we really need someone out there, and like we're kind of in a tough spot. Like we want you to consider moving out there, and so I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I remember the first couple of days of practice just getting run over by Courtney Upshaw every single day and thinking like, this is awful. Why would I ever want to do this? And but I guess I did okay. And it was probably like 3 or 4 days before the spring game when we made this change. And then they thrust me into the spring game playing left tackle. I was so nervous. Even though I'd already started for 2 years, I was like, this is a totally different position. And it worked out okay. And that was the year I won the Outland. And then I was like, okay, I think I got this left tackle thing kind of figured out. And we had this recruit named Cyrus Quanjo who was really good and was more of a left tackle and a prototypical looking dude. And they said, hey, what would you think about, trying to play center? William Velez had graduated. We don't really have a center and we need somebody there. And I said, okay, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And so moved inside and thought that probably that's where I projected better as an NFL player, was somewhere inside. And so played that. So it really just kind of came more out of necessity versus me trying to prove a point or anything. But it was cool to be able to experience a national championship at all three positions, guard, center, and tackle. That was an interesting kind of achievement, I guess, to be able to do it a little bit differently each time.
You mentioned winning the Outland Trophy. Everyone really proud of that. I think Coach Saban probably even more proud of winning the Campbell Trophy, the academic Heisman, for what you're able to do in the classroom. Just how did your time studying and in the classroom at Alabama really impact you once your football career was done?
Yeah, I mean, I got a great education in Alabama, and I'm very grateful for it, and had a lot of support when I was there from the staff. And when I initially told them I wanted to do accounting, they were like, "Are you sure? We don't really have many football players that want to do accounting." And I said, "No, I really do want to do accounting. I think it's gonna be really fun." And I loved accounting. It was a tremendous program there at Alabama, and I ended up getting my master's when I was there too, because I had that fifth year, and so I got a master's, and it's really served me well. I'm working finance now, not in accounting, but it's been great as a foundation for me to kind of launch off into business. And I've been working in finance for about 8 years and really enjoy it. So I'm very pleased, and I think sometimes all that gets lost in the shuffle. Like the old NCAA commercials say, 99% of athletes go pro in something other than sports. And even though I did briefly go pro, I think even the guys that do go pro, it's most of them have some other job. And so I'm very grateful that I was able to get such a great education that kind of launched me into a career that hopefully I can do for 40 or 50 years that I really love and enjoy. I love life now. It's been a good transition for me. And a lot of that is due to the foundation that was laid for me at Alabama.
Well, you mentioned you hope to see the Crimson Tide with you when you're honored for Legends Weekend of the SEC Championship game in Atlanta. Just what have you seen from this football team this year as it goes through a major transition, going from Coach Saban to now Coach DeBoer?
Yeah, it's been a major transition, that's for sure. I went to practice actually for the first time in like 10 years earlier this season, and I was really impressed. I thought Coach DeBoer did a great job. It's obviously very different. He's very different than Nick Saban. I don't think you have to be a rocket scientist to know that. But different's not always worse. And so I think, he's got a major challenge of trying to put his guys in place. And, there was guys that left. And so, there was always going to be adversity and a challenge this year. But I think that, you know, time will tell. It's obviously an impossible thing to do to try to follow a guy like Nick Saban. So you don't try to. You just try to be yourself and you go in and try to be who you are. And I think he's done a good job of that, of just being himself. And you got to ignore the noise because he was a hero when he beat Georgia, and now he's not a hero anymore at this very moment after losing a couple games. And so it's hard, and there are a lot of people that care, and that's part of what makes it fun. But it's also part of what makes it challenging. So yeah, I think there's a lot of good things. I think people need to understand too that the overall talent this year, I think, is not quite what it has been. I mean, there's a lot of really good players, but it's not top to bottom first round draft picks like there have been some years, and so which I'm not sure we'll see a lot of that anymore. I think the talent is much more spread out in this era, so it's going to look different for everybody. I think it's going to be really hard to be undefeated for any team moving forward because especially in the SEC, it's a gauntlet every single week, and the lack of depth these teams have now is it makes it a lot harder to just stockpile players in this era. So yeah, I think I think he's doing a good job, and again, time will tell if it's a fit or not. But hopefully we still have everything in front of us. I think if they win out, there's no doubt that they will get in the playoff, and in this era, that's really all that matters is getting a shot and playing good football at the end of the season. So we'll see what happens.
Well, Barrett, congratulations again on being named an SEC football legend. Enjoy everything coming up in Atlanta in just over a month. And thank you for the time with us today on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Look forward to seeing you again down the road in Tuscaloosa. Roll Tide.
Thanks, Roger. I'm actually coming this weekend for the first time in a couple years, so I'm looking forward to being there.